Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. So today, I'm going to be talking about some of the things I think are flaws with my generation, and maybe even the millennials, and possibly how we could look to solve these. So without much further ado, I think the problems we're going to start to encounter with kids my age when they grow up, and millennials in the modern era are twofold. I think there's going to be one set of problems that emerges from the way in which we're parenting kids these days and raising them, I guess, in schools as well. And I think there's also going to be a lot more harm done to our generation by modern technology. And unfortunately, I think the effects of this are going to be very hard to predict because everything is changing so fast and it's so chaotic. But I don't think there's any possibility that the effects will be 100% positive. Anyway, with the first thing that I mentioned, which was the way in which we're raising kids these days, I think that whatever we're seeing now is representative, at least to a certain extent, of a shift that I believe we started to see probably about 40 years ago. So Eaton Patz was the first of the milk carton kids, and he disappeared in 1979. And I think that was really the beginning of a radical shift in our approach to parenting and the amount of independence we gave kids. And I think in many ways, America's response to this was problematic for one reason more than anything else, which is that childhood is supposed to be about feedback loops. That's the entire point of this period in our lives. You know, when you're very young, you don't know how to interact with the world, and you have to make mistakes, and you have to learn from those mistakes because you deal with the consequences, and that changes your thought patterns and the way you interact with everything around you. Now, we're so involved as institutions or parents or teachers in the lives of children that they can't face the full consequences of their actions, and they can't become truly independent in the way that people used to. So the great thing is that if we imagine this change in ideology began around 40 years ago, we have an entire generation that is more or less grown up in that time, and we can look to this generation to observe whatever effects might have come from this. So I think there's a lot to be said about the millennials. I think it's a complicated generation and not even something that any of us fully understand. But with respect to independence, there are very clear pointers that something has gone wrong, even if we don't know exactly what it is. More millennials are receiving post-secondary education than any other generation in history, although more millennials are also moving back with their parents after college than any other generation in history. So, I mean, you could make a convincing argument that this has more to do with the state of the economy than it does with the lives of millennials and the way they act and how much independence they have. But I think that that's unlikely, personally. My guess is that this has to do with the fact that we've kept millennials from dealing with these feedback loops, and as a result, I don't think anyone's growing up with the same amount of independence that they used to. So that's one issue that I think is complicated and we have to look at. And the other thing I brought up was modern technology. So once again, I think it's very unclear what this will look like even a year from now. So I think that makes it very hard to come up with any realistic prophecy for how this will impact our future. But I do think one of the things that has been consistent in the emergence of the internet is isolation in one's own belief structures. So I know I'm not the first to say this, but really what things like social media are doing to a large extent are surrounding people with those that believe in very similar things. And I think that that's dangerous because people are forgetting how to communicate in the modern era because of this. I think now what we see is two sides of a political spectrum that are extremely polar. And this is an indication to me that no one knows how to communicate in ways that facilitate nuance. And my guess is that this is an effect of social media and modern technology, but it's unclear. Thanks so much for watching this video. I really appreciate it, and I'm sorry that I haven't uploaded in so long. Life's been a bit hectic, but I'll be trying to get back on this track, and don't forget to like this video and share it because I am trying to grow this channel, so thank you.